Every year, millions of people spend insane amount of money on buying a new smartphone, but most of them tend to make the same mistakes. They're buying phones that either don't fit their lifestyle or fit their need or just annoy them for some other reason. So before you or someone else buys a new smartphone, watch this video. Let me tell you what these mistakes are and how to actually go about buying a smartphone. Let's go. First mistake is wanting the best processor. Let me tell you something very bluntly. Best processor does not mean best performance. Just like a roaring engine makes no sense if you've got flat wheels or a broken steering. I've made a table that tells you what combination of processor, type of internal storage, and RAM delivers what kind of performance. While processor is the main engine, having a fast internal storage is important for smooth performance and app launch, while a fast RAM helps in seamless switching between your apps. And just for your ease, I'll also list some phones released in the last 12 to 18 months that fall under each such category. Now, this table is somewhat of a decent guide, but the one thing that actually makes all of this work and that's missing from this table is software optimization. And that's where a phone like Nothing Phone 3a Pro delivers smoother and more reliable performance over, let's say, the Infinix Note 50 Pro Plus. Point being, you can't always chase a phone that's got the most bulked up set of performance specs. And that's where you've got to start looking at things that matter to you, like design, display, durability, camera, and software and customer support. Now, the second mistake people make is that I need to have the latest model. Guys, to be very honest, every new smartphone that comes in the market now is a very minor incremental upgrade over its predecessor. And so 95% of the times, it may actually make sense to go with the previous model just because it's dropped to a much better value this year. Now, you can take this theory and apply it to all smartphones across all categories and try to save some money for yourself. Mistake number 3. People think buying a phone with a bigger battery capacity means it's going to last longer. Consider iPhones. Their battery capacities are relatively much smaller compared to Android. But how is it that they last pretty much the same as any other Android phone with higher battery capacities? That's because battery efficiency actually depends on display tech, chip optimization, and the software. And so just because a phone has a 6000 mAh battery or a 7000 mAh battery, it may give you 2-day battery life in the beginning, but that does not mean it's going to give you 2 days every day for the rest of its life. But yes, one thing to consider is the shift in battery tech. You see, with silicon battery tech, there's been an average jump of about 10 to 15% in battery capacity. And so especially with Chinese brands, they've started to use that tech. And while Samsung, Google, and of course iPhones, they're yet to embrace these larger battery capacities. Mistake 4. People tend to buy phones based on brand loyalty instead of buying based on needs. If only I got $1 for every time someone said, I'll buy an iPhone because, well, it's an iPhone. See, that's the entire point of marketing, is to make you feel like that. They hope that you fall for it and that you end up buying their product. Think about the iPhone 16e. It's got a single pathetic camera, a notch, a 60Hz display with ugly bezels and all for 60,000 rupees. I mean, it's so bad that even on their own website, they only let you compare it to ages-old iPhones. I mean, you see why they would do that, right? And even after all this, if you still want to go ahead and pay for that Apple logo, do it. But I know that it's not a wise choice. There are phones from other brands like Motorola, Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo that offer more features, more innovation, and all at a better price. Look at OnePlus 13R. At 40,000 rupees, you get last year's flagship chip, which was otherwise selling for at least 75,000. Consider the Nothing Phone 3a or 3a Pro that are actually head-turners by design and offer premium software experience at very competitive prices. Look, I'm not saying that you have to buy from brands that you've not even heard of, but look around, get smart, and only pay for things that make more sense for you and not just a logo. Mistake number 5 is that people don't ask themselves the right question. What are you going to use your phone for 90% of the times? Look, a phone for a content creator is not going to be the same as a parent or a teacher or someone who travels a lot or for a gamer. What are you going to do with it 90% of the times? That should determine what kind of phone you really need. So here's a table that may help you understand what kind of phones you could go for in different price categories based on that need. Now, obviously, I can't list all the phones and I possibly can't address all the needs, but I did try to address the more popular categories. Mistake number 6 is falling for reviewers' bias or a sales rep at a shop. Look, When buying a smartphone, you look at multiple reviews online and then you also go to a store and probably talk to a sales representative, and you may feel pressured into buying a phone. Look, we reviewers, we share our opinion, right? We try to be objective, but we may still miss out on things that specifically matter to you. And sales rep in, stores, they are helpful, but they still have sales quotas to meet, and they may still try to push you products that have a higher profit margin. And so my suggestion would be to watch multiple reviews, look for a common sentiment, and that should help you form a really strong opinion. And definitely don't try to go for a phone that a shopkeeper is pushing you too hard for. Mistake number 7. Not trying a phone physically. In a review, we try to talk about ergonomics, like how it fits in my hand, how it feels in my pockets. But it could be a different reality for you. And a phone might look great on a video, but is it too heavy for you, or too slippery for you, or way too awkward for you to use with just one hand? How well are the buttons placed? Can you reach them comfortably? I mean, two phones that have exactly the same specs can feel very different in terms of UI scaling or screen brightness and sharpness. Bottom line, a smartphone is something you physically interact with 100 times a day. And if it doesn't feel right, then it will never feel right. So walk into a store, pick up the phone and try it for a few minutes if you can, and I'm sure you'll make the right decision. Mistake number 8, ignoring storage needs and cloud habits. I've only ever met two kinds of people: those who underestimate how much storage they need, or those who overestimate how much storage they need. Guys, storage is a mindset choice. It's not a number choice. Just look at how much storage you're using today. For example, if currently you're using 80 gigs of storage, then 128 gigs of storage is not going to be enough for the next 2 to 3 years. But if you're into content creation, you shoot a lot of videos, especially 4K, then at least 512 gigs or maybe 1 terabyte. But factor in two things. First, the more space you have, the more you're just gonna let it fill with junk data and never get to organizing it. And second, factor in cloud storage. If you have Google One or iCloud subscription, then you can offload quite a bit of data onto those services and free up local storage. And lastly, mistake number 9 is not really just one singular mistake, it's a couple of small things that you may still miss out on. First, more RAM does not necessarily mean a faster phone. Guys, 8 gigs of RAM is sufficient for almost everything you generally do on your phone. 12 gigs or 16 gigs makes more sense if you're also into gaming on your phone. Second, get extended care plus or protection plans for your phone. I mean, you get full protection against accidental drops, screen cracks, water or liquid damage, anything except, of course, a stolen phone. These protection plans for iPhones are actually very expensive, but it is still worth it, just considering how expensive the spare parts for iPhones are. And third, think about after-sales service or the customer support. I mean, some brands are amazing with it, some not so much, and some may not even be extensively available in the city that you are in. So do your research, ask your friends around if they have the brand that you're thinking of buying, and make that decision based on that. Overall, guys, just try to get a smartphone that matches your lifestyle and your needs, okay? Do not go over budget. Do not overestimate your storage needs. Definitely don't upgrade every year. Don't fall for gimmicks by brands, and definitely don't buy for the brand, okay? iPhone fans? And that's it, guys. Share this with everyone who's thinking of buying a smartphone, and I hope this video was really helpful. And if it was, make sure you hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, guys. Hit that bell notification icon and mark all. Really helps the channel grow. I'll see you guys in the next one.